Segment to commence in a moment, Keith Hillier and Max Presnell. It was quite a remarkable Caulfield Cup, a fantastic finish, an outstanding win, an outstanding run by the second horse, and the aftermath at Caulfield yesterday turned pretty ugly with the big demonstration around Shane Dye. Damien Oliver won all points yesterday, 10 out of 10, and for Shane, not quite the full result. Let's go to the Caulfield Cup in full, and we're going to have an interview with the trainer of the runner-up, and then Keith and Max to digest the Cup and to have a look ahead to the Melbourne Cup. Here's the Caulfield Cup of '92.
Set. Ready. They're off to a great start in the Cup now, and on the inside, one of the first out was Tiago Nick with Ramia, who commenced well, and so did Zarkzar. And away quickly also Gather Noah's looking for the early lead, and Sub-Zero, the grey, is prominent as they run down the straight the first timer. Heroicity is in behind them, being followed by Royal Magic, and very deep on the track, going up towards the leaders of Quiddity. And a bit further back is My Brilliant Star on the outside of Dr. Grace. In that leading group is Mannerism. They're followed by Star of the Realm. A length and a half further back in the field of My Gilly as they go out of the straight, followed by Grooming. Vianda crosses third last, next to last Regal Sea, and last of all Castletown. Out of the straight they travel, 1800 metres left to go, and Gather Noah's dash to the front in the Cup, led by a length and a half. Quiddity second on the outside of Tiago Nick, nicely positioned. They're followed by Dark Star, fourth on the inside of Ramia, and just in behind them Heroicity. A length to Sub-Zero on the inside of Dr. Grace. They're followed by Starring, half a length away, Mannerism, 1600 to run. A length and a half further back than is Royal Magic on the inside of My Brilliant Star, being followed by My Eagle Eye. Over on the inside is Grooming, and just in behind them Star of the Realm, followed by Vianda Cross, who's third last around the outside of Regal Sea, and Castletown bringing up the rear. They climb the hill. Gather Noah's the leader in the Cup, led over a little length in advance here of on the outside of Quiddity second, half a length away, getting a beautiful run as Tiago Nick, and Dark Star is handy. Heroicity on the inside of Riamia as they race over the hill, being followed next then by Sub-Zero. Dr. Grace at the head of the others. They're followed by Starring over on the inside of Mannerism, three deep to My Brilliant Star, and going around the outside then taking closer order is My Eagle Eye, being followed next over on the inside by Grooming, and a fair way back then is Vianda Cross, and Star of the Realms a long way out of her grounder, and she was followed by Regal Sea, and last of all down the side Castletown, 800 metres left to go. Gather Noah's making a merry bid for victory in the Cup, and Gather Noah in front by a length and a half. Quiddity second, a length further back, then over on the inside is Tiago Nick, and putting in a run further back is Dark Star, Ramia, round the outside Dr. Grace, Heroicity, Starring on the inside, wider on the track. Here comes Vianda Cross, the favourite from a long way back, and Castletown following, followed by Sub-Zero. Royal Magic well back. Vianda Cross right to the outside as they straighten up over on the inside. Gather Noah will lead into the straight. In second place down the outside, Mannerism putting herself in the picture, and right over on the outside is Vianda Cross. It's Gather Noah the leader with about 200 metres left to go. Vianda Cross is flying home. Mannerism in the centre, followed by Quiddity. Vianda Cross has taken the lead in the Cup. Vianda Cross in front with 100 metres left to go from Mannerism, trying to get to it. Vianda Cross just in front. Vianda Cross the outside. They hit it. Bobby finish. Very tight. Vianda Cross maybe from Mannerism. Nothing in it. And tight for third at Quiddity, Gather Noah and Sub-Zero.
Well, in the long history of the Caulfield Cup, I doubt whether any one ride has been discussed quite so much as Shane Dye's after the race. Keith Hillier caught up with the trainer of Vianda Cross, John Wheeler, and asked him what he thought of Shane Dye's ride on the horse.
Oh, you know, in the circumstances, I guess it's not that bad, but, you know, I think probably it's just the way it happened. If he had won, he'd have been a hero, and he didn't win.
Vianda Cross beaten now, although narrowly at 2,400 metres. Is he still a Melbourne Cup hope?
Oh, certainly, yeah.
More improvement?
I don't know if there's more improvement, but he'll be there in the finish of the Melbourne Cup.
Same jockey?
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Same jockey, yeah. Well, the story this morning is interesting surrounding Jim Cassidy. More of that in a moment. Keith Hillier from 3UZ, Max Presnell from the Sydney Morning Herald have joined us. Welcome, gentlemen. Can you remember, between you've been going to the races for a fair while, such a reaction to a ride?
I can't, Bruce. Shane Dye was universally criticised yesterday. I really don't want to join the Shane Dye bashing this morning, but I suppose you must, and you must say it was deserved, because I think Shane made errors of judgment that cost Vianda Cross a Caulfield Cup. It wasn't Shane's day. It started off with stewards denying him the right to interview jockeys or trainers in his role as a TV interviewer. He was also blood and alcohol tested during the day, and then he incurred the punter's wrath. It was not Shane Dye's day.
I wonder, Max, why it was Shane Dye. I mean, the ride was a poor one. Not quite a slaughter, but a poor ride, I feel. But the character of the man and his great personality and the fact that he is so cheeky and confident, it's probably had something to do with the reaction to him.
Well, put it this way, Bruce. Melbourne's got its weather, and it would appear Sydney's got Shane Dye. I can't recall any sportsman being roasted as much for an error in judgment as Shane Dye. He was beaten a short half head. Personally, I thought Viander Cross should have won the race, possibly by half, 3/4 of a length. Nevertheless, that's me sitting in the stand. Shane this morning is totally unrepentant. He thinks he's done the right thing. If he had to ride the race again, he would do that again. He's certainly not going to give up his television commitments, because he said he's the leading group winning jockey in Australia. He said he's been doing the television all the way through that. That's got nothing to do with it. And as far as the dope and booze testing yesterday, he said that he was personally tested a week ago, and the analysts reported that they'd never come up with a purer sample. So Shane Dye is Shane Dye. He's self-psychic. He is what he is. Perhaps he was wrong yesterday, but did he really deserve...
Well, probably not. I think he went too early yesterday rather than be too wide. I think that was the problem. He made it such a long run and the horse did wander a bit in the last 100 metres. Just looking ahead towards the Melbourne Cup, this horse has not won at 2400. He's been very unlucky in an AJC Derby and very unlucky in a Caulfield Cup. The query with him would be the 3200 metres now of the Melbourne Cup.
It's on the sires line, Bruce. He's not bred to run that trip. On the dams line he is. The good news, if there is something to be savoured from yesterday's race, is that he won't be penalised. Look, Shane Dye, as Max said, and as another Max said, he missed by just that much. He had a game plan and he stuck to it. Out of the woodwork yesterday, Jimmy Cassidy, well, he came out of the closet, really, to try to poach the ride on Viander Cross.
Now, that in itself is very unusual, isn't it, for a jockey, another jockey, senior jockey, to publicly declare that I want this mount off a man who's already been engaged.
That has set everything aside now. You know the rules. There aren't any.
Is there bad blood between Cassidy and Dye? Two New Zealanders, Max. In fact, I'm surprised you haven't called Shane Dye a New Zealander today.
Bruce, Sydney, he's ours. Bruce, you said publicly declare. I would say since man has been riding horses, jockeys have been trying to poach good mounts, particularly in Melbourne Cups. I think we go back that quite a few Australians have white-handed New Zealanders of Melbourne Cup hopes in the past. Dye is competitive and is competitive chasing rides. Cassidy is competitive and competitive chasing rides. I think this isn't a bad thing because it does show you that there's no Kiwi mafia involved in this. They are all in it together.
This discussion is an indication of the attributes that have been robbed from Lee Freedman. He took part of his dream team to Caulfield yesterday. Bruce, 5 runners in the Caulfield Cup, 3 of the first 5 place getters, and maybe the best was at home. Naturalism and superimposed. Mannerism
was magnificent yesterday. We shouldn't take anything away from her. In the last 40 years, there have been 8 mares have won the Cup. She carried 2.5 kilos more yesterday than Leilani and How Now. 6 kilos more than Let's Elope. She carried more weight than any other mare in the last 40 years. She is outstanding. It was a brilliant ride. He's a great trainer and she's a great horse. And it is in a way a shame that the Viander Cross and the Dye situation has taken so much from Mannerism. I think the other point is that Mannerism isn't in the Melbourne Cup and therefore we always look from the Caulfield Cup to the Melbourne Cup, so it is natural to talk about Viander Cross. Just briefly, Sub-Zero, Royal Magic and the other horse, Castletown, from a Melbourne Cup point of view. Your thoughts, Max, on those 3? Because they looked outstanding behind Viander Cross.
Viander Cross, I would say, was one of the best Melbourne Cup trials I've ever seen. Sub-Zero, reasonable. Castletown, perhaps too old. Royal Magic got stuck in the bad ground. A very, very good run. As, again, without wanting to stress too much on Shane Dye said that Lance O'Sullivan said to him after the race, if only I was out on the ground where you were. So that's another point. But I do think you can't take anything away from Viander Cross from the Melbourne Cup point of view, but certainly don't take anything away from Lee Freedman and Damien Oliver from the Caulfield Cup point of view.
Keith? I've got nothing to add. My old mate got it right again, Bruce.
Oh, God, aren't they different when they're together down here in wherever we are, because it's a national program. Now, let's have a look at the betting for the Melbourne Cup. Viander Cross at 4 to 1. That's about the price Let's Elope ran at last year. Sub-Zero 7s, Castletown 10, London Bridge 12, Heroicity 15, and we've just picked out 2 of the big names, Let's Elope and Superimposed, 20s and 25 to 1. Well, it was Lee Freedman's day, 3 in the first 5, Mannerism winning the Caulfield Cup. Lots of other races of tremendous interest yesterday at Caulfield. We'll be showing you those after this break, along with the 1,000 guineas and the big match race.
young...
Welcome back. As I said, lots of other races yesterday at Caulfield. Before we discuss them, let's have a look at the first of them that we're going to show you this morning. A remarkable performance by Rough Habit, and this was the race that Jim Cassidy jumped off Rough Habit and put his hand up to ride Viander Cross in the Melbourne Cup. He brought this one home for John Wheeler from the very back of the field.
They're racing up past the 800-metre mark now. Instrumental a half length of Friends Venture. Rare Chances in behind them, being followed by Black Rouge and Tar Heel Boy. A length and a half making ground now as Southern States over on the inside of Pay the Kings. Bow Aaron back behind them. Palm Beach, Etherton Shiva and Half Axters right off the track as they come up towards the home turn. Colonial Spirit. Rough Habit's about 6 lengths behind the third last horse. He's second last and in a seemingly impossible position, the favourite Rough Habit, as they make the home turn at the 400. And the leader's heading towards the outside section of the track. It's Instrumental being tackled by Friends Venture on the outside. Southern States in the centre coming through. And over on the outside is Rare Chance. And back behind them then is Black Rouge. And now Rough Habit on the inside are starting to come through with a strong run. Instrumental over on the outside and Rare Chance and Rough Habit. Look at Rough Habit and Palm Beach flying home. White on the outside there is Rare Chance. But Rough Habit over on the inside is absolutely flying home as they go to the line. And Rough Habit, I think's won. What a run. Rough Habit, I think, has just beaten Rare Chance. They're very wide apart.
What a run. What a ride by Jim Cassidy. I think, gentlemen, what a horse. He is a beauty, isn't he?
He's a fantastic horse, and he's had so many problems with rashes, and even as late as yesterday, Bruce, he had swelling on a hock. And trainer John Wheeler believes that some of the rash problems and that sort of thing may have stemmed from his inoculations to go to Japan, as they did last year. Well,
he's won 8 out of 10 now at 1,400 metres, Max, yet we tend to think of him more as a middle-distance fast stayer. What's your feeling? And I'm thinking Cox Plate with him.
Oh, Bruce, Rough Habit is a racehorse. He's the sort of horse that the man from Snowy River would have liked to have ridden. He'll give his all. He certainly has had an uninterrupted preparation. On the preparation, I can't get enthusiastic about him in the Cox Plate, but John Wheeler said yesterday, every time I ask this horse for a little bit extra, I've got to ask him for a little bit extra in a gallop on Tuesday, I've got to ask him for a lot extra in the Cox Plate, he gives it to me.
He's produced some remarkable performances. His win in the Stradbroke was quite outstanding this year. He's a great horse. I just wonder, Keith, at the Valley, they flatten out in the Cox Plate with about 800 to run, 600 to run. It's a test of strength. You could just see this horse. I feel as if he's not going to be as well suited in the Cox Plate. I could be wrong. He might need the sting out of the ground too.
He might, Bruce, and those setbacks in his preparation, he was able to win yesterday with a big weight and against lesser opposition, but I wonder whether he could do it next Saturday in the Cox Plate.
Don't forget, he is a racehorse, though. He is a racehorse. He's got the heart. He's got the will to win. I would say all the theory says no. But you won't be telling that to Rough Habit halfway down the straight.
Well, he's a heart attack horse. He'll be off halfway through the race, but you might be back in business near the finish.
Yes, he's a super horse. The big sprint yesterday, Tangent Prince, this is most improved. Michael Clark had a poor day really yesterday. Dark Czar not firing in the Cup. He got suspended in race number 3, but he was able to bring Tangent Prince home in the 4th.
Barcara in charge up to the 700. Led a half length to Noble Lancer on the outside. Welcome Night and getting through on the inside, Cogitate and Facila. And they were being followed further back by Tangent Prince, Mr. Cuban over on the outside, making ground. Pug for Me, Street Ruffy, and followed by Celerida. Alias Combabash is a long way back, followed by Redelver, and back behind them Blushing Bijou and tailed off as Prince of Praise as they straighten over. Cogitate going after Barcara, who's still the leader at the top of the straight on the clear from Noble Lancer and Facila. And down the outside, Tangent Prince running on pretty well, followed by Welcome Night. And deeper on the track is Mr. Cuba. Barcara was the leader. Tangent Prince coming at it down the outside, and Welcome Night behind them. Tangent Prince has taken the lead with 100 metres left to go from Welcome Night. Tangent Prince hanging on. Welcome Night is coming at it in the last little bit. They hit the line. Oh, Tangent Prince maybe from Welcome Night. Not much in it. Third, Barcara.
He's improved out of sight. I just wonder what sort of a guide for the Gadsden that might be, which is the big race up the straight. Cogitate not suited by the ground and not suited by an inside draw, and he is a good horse, Tangent Prince, but I'm just wondering whether...
He's a good horse, but aided by the wet tracks, Bruce, and as you mentioned, Michael Clark suspended. That suspension will cost him rides at the Geelong Cup Carnival during the week, and in the Cox Plate on Better Loosen Up, he intends to appeal against the suspension.
Peter Hutchison may ride Better Loosen Up, could be, and also I think Michael's out of the Derby with Palace Rain. So,
that's true. Midnight Derby night.
And they produced a horse yesterday, the Hazes, won by 7 lengths in a fairly important race in Adelaide called McBrave, a 3-year-old who looked very good. So he'll probably come over, I would imagine. and could be, well, he won't be a chance against Coronation Day, because I just looked at Max, who was just going, no hope at all. He must be all right this Coronation Day, is he?
Well, I'd say that the quality of opposition that McBrave beat yesterday, so impressively too, but there is a big gap between that and what Coronation Day's been doing.
OK, let's see what sort of a gap there is between Coronation Day and Muirfield Village and this horse, River Hero, who won the Norman Robinson yesterday.
To the 600-metre mark, and King Credence the outsider. Scalero together by a length in advance of River Hero challenging, and State Taj is just behind them. Over on the inside, Mar Becker, hard-ridden, Queen's Choice, and very hard-ridden then is the favourite Yodelay, not responding at the moment. Silverdale at the head of the others, and they're followed by Honolulu. Tuscanadas well back in the field, and he's classic as they come into the straight. We're out very deep on the track. River Hero had raced up to hit the front with about 300 to go. River Hero is the leader. Scalero boxing on pretty well, and they're well clear of Queen's Choice and State Taj. Back behind them, Mar Becker and Yodelay as they come down with 150 metres left to go. River Hero on the outside is still the leader, trying to get to it again. Scalero, and finishing fast is Queen's Choice, but River Hero raced away to win it well. Good run. River Hero won by 3 lengths. Scalero. Third home is Queen's Choice, followed by Mar Becker.
Shane Dyer, the winning jockey. Brian Mayfield Smith, the trainer, has, well, Handy Proverb won the Cup, won the Derby, I should say. What about this fellow, Max? You've seen a lot more of him than we have.
He surprised me yesterday with his win. Not that he hasn't showed potential. He has, but he's always managed to get into trouble, do things wrong. He is maturing on a heavy track. Well, you'd have to say yes. Who rode him, Bruce?
Did Dyer ride him?
Yes. That's right. Went a little bit quick too, but nevertheless, River Hero is a horse of potential. But as far as the Victoria Derby is concerned, at this stage, I'll just sit pat on him. OK, fair enough.
Two other horses we should mention. Dan Juki's a very good mare. She won again yesterday. Ghost Story is a beauty. His run was fantastic. And he will win the Sandown Guineas with his leg in the air.
Yes, no disagreement with I'm
Keith,
just everybody's friend this morning.
I thought you'd come in strongly.
No, he's a very good horse, and his win yesterday was fantastic.
Two other very good horses went round in a controversial race on Wednesday. Controversial for lots of reasons. The match race, $75,000, winner take all. Let's go to the race and I'll ask Keith and Max their impressions. Let's Elope versus Better Loosen Up.
They go to the 750-metre mark, and the sprint is on now. And it's Better Loosen Up about a half in front. The mare on the outside, back second. Let's Elope. Dittman about to call, and now she's getting closer to Better Loosen Up. It's a battle. She's gone up to Better Loosen Up, and she's put her head in front. And they're both. It's a real war before the turn. 500 to go. Let's Elope on the outside, getting a half length in front. He gives her a crack with a whip. Clark calling on the old warrior back on the inside. Better Loosen Up down to the 300-metre mark. Let's Elope's drawn a half length in front. Better Loosen Up is trying to come back on the inside. Let's Elope's a neck in front at the 150-metre mark. Better Loosen Up trying with every stride, but the mare's got the edge near the line. Dittman throws everything at her, and Let's Elope wins the challenge a length and a half to Better Loosen Up. A marvellous performance by two great horses here in the TAB Super Challenge.
Well, Brian Martin summed it up very well. Two great horses. It was a bit of a shame to see Better Loosen Up, who is struggling. He's not nearly the horse he was. He's been an all-time favourite, a tremendous horse. But I think there's hope for Let's Elope. There's definite hope, and whether she can win the Cox Plate, do we know who's going to ride her at this stage? No,
there seems to be some hesitancy there from the Cummings camp, and I'm surprised that Greg Charles isn't straight back on, but Bart didn't hesitate in having a jockey switch for that match race. The pair there, the former King and Queen of the Turf, they were both Australian champion horses. Both have been dethroned in the past season. But Let's Elope is the one who could regain some of her greatness anyway, Bruce.
Max, an enormous amount of money was bet on the race all around Australia, suggesting that it was a very good idea, because there have been quite a bit of criticism, people feeling that it was a benefit for Bart or for David.
I do think, I did have that impression. I thought it might have been a benefit for Bart.
Well, you weren't proved wrong there.
But nevertheless, I think in the overall picture shows that for about $35,000 invested, it was the best investment racing has seen for a long time. I've got a lot of people interested in racing, a lot of money invested in it, a lot of people benefited from it, and I would say that $35,000, the match race, has gone a long way further in promoting racing than from $500,000 to $800,000 that the AJC has spent on the GG Spot campaign.
You'll be giving your GG Spot campaign tie back after that.
Geez, you've been a bit anti that, Max. Azuro, disappointing that the Melbourne filly could beat the Sydney fillies in the 1,000 guineas, but here's how she did it.
Riva Diva and Loves comes to town to the outside from Tontonay. Then Slight Chance pulled out very deep, followed by Sparky Miss out, Trista Light, Googs, Dream, Astute Angel and Racing Dream. 600 out and Burst has gone up now with on the outside. Love comes to town. Love comes to town on the outside. Got to the front now from Burst, followed by Azuro. Slight Chance is back midfield and skating in trouble. Love comes to town first for home. After it is Euro from Burst over on the inside, battling on, and then Doe keeping further back Riva Diva. Love comes to town in front of the 300 as Euro's going to be the danger from Burst, getting up on the fence. On the outside as Euro gets up to Love comes to town from Burst, Doe keep, and then Slight Chance and Riva Diva as Euro's got its head in front of the 100-metre mark now from Love comes to town and Burst. The Victorian filly takes the guineas though as Euro comes away a length. Love comes to town, 2 to Burst third.
Lee Freeman again in the Griffiths family with a 0, and the best quote of the year in racing. Shane Dye abused Stephen King after that race. Dye was on Slight Chance, King on Riva Diva. He abused King for riding too wide on Riva Diva. Well, he must have taken something out of the King book because he sure made up for it on Vianda Cross. Gentlemen, the Cox Plate.
Reserve my decision, but if wet, naturalism. Okay. If dry, Coronation Day.
OK, I was going to say, Keith, just for you, you can tell us next Sunday who your tip is. Max?
Naturalism.
Really? I thought you might be a Coronation Day man.
Well, Naturalism's got the score on the board. Wet or dry, a very, very good horse. Will be very hard to beat, and certainly Coronation Day is outstanding, but has got to prove he can get around Melbourne, can handle the wet, can do a lot of things down here. Naturalism answers them all.
And today's turf tie, Bruce, is a rerun job. It's the Cox Plate tie again, depicting the winners of 23 Cox Plates.
It's very popular at Caulfield yesterday, Keith. I saw that on a couple of gentlemen. Naturalism will win the Cox Plate. We'll take a break. Brooke back after this.